Thank you for joining me for Chapter 5. Here we're going to work on some data sets and some outlines. So I have a bunch of data, which is actually meaningless until I translate it into meaningful information, which will then increase my knowledge, where I can make well-informed decisions about the data. So before I get started, I went ahead and I saved my file as Ch05_ and then my last name. And I can see that right up here in the ribbon. I also saved it in my folder Chapter 5. That way when I make my PDF, it saves in the exact same folder, and then I can compress both files into one folder, upload to Moodle. So I've went to the first sheet. That is my bag subtotal sheet. I'm going to take a look at what I have here, and I see that my information is just in a chart. It's not in a table. And I can tell that by clicking inside, anywhere inside of the data, and I don't get that design tab popping up for my table design. I cannot put the subtotals in if it's a table. Now what a subtotal does, it'll insert a line somewhere in your data set and it'll subtotal things above. Well, we can't really subtotal our category handbags because it's not sorted. So the first thing we're going to need to do is sort our information so that we can add our subtotals. So let's make sure you're on the first sheet because it should open to the second sheet, and I'm going to go ahead and just click in A5. Go to my data tab, and on my data tab I'm going to click the sort, and I'm going to create a sort that I have several layers. So my first one I'm going to sort by is category. So I'm going to change product name to category. Here in my category it will sort everything alphabetically, so it looks like backpacks might be first. So I'll get all the backpacks all put into one group, and then the next one, and then the next one. We have that information there. Let's go ahead and add a level. Now I want it by type. So I'm going to select type here, and I'm going to keep it in alphabetical order. So that part looks good. And go ahead and click OK. Backpacks, I like it. And then by type. So first it went backpacks, and then in the backpacks, I see that I have the M's and the U's and the W's. So all alphabetical order. First it's sorted by backpacks and then by type. Exactly what I'm looking for. So up on my data tab, I'm going to go to the right until I find the outline group. And in the outline group, I want to click the subtotal icon. There's a couple things we want to look at here. Right now it says at each change in category, and I'm going to leave category right where it is for right now. So at each change of category, we can use a function, and I want them to add it together, but I could count, average, min, max, do a product, but what I want is sum. Leave that alone. And what I want to do first is I want to click at my sales wholesale. So right here, sales wholesale, I want to add a subtotal. As soon as it comes down here, looks down column G, sales wholesale, wherever it gets to a category, it's going to then give me a subtotal. So at the bottom of backpacks, I should have a subtotal. Let's also add one for under sales retail. And then of course I want my total sales. I'll leave that one alone. It's exactly where it should be. Go ahead and click OK. It inserted a new column. And the nice thing about using the subtotal is it preserves the integrity of my data. If I were to increase the size here and put a subtotal in myself by inserting a row, then it would mess up my formulas. Right now it doesn't mess it up. I can toggle it on or off. So that I like. Well, let's go down here. Any of these sales by wholesale, and I can highlight all of the sales all the way down to my subtotal. It says right below it 14,101, and if I look down in my taskbar down the very bottom, 14,101, 750. My numbers match. Now let's add another subtotal, but I want to preserve what I've done so far. I don't want to change anything. I just want to add another layer. So click on subtotal again. Cancel that. Let me get off of here and go back to where I was. Click subtotal again. Now this time at each change in type, and then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say unselect the replace current subtotals because I want to preserve what I've done. If I don't uncheck it, it'll give me a brand new subtotals, and that's not what I'm looking for. I just want to add one more layer and say okay. And I can see it. Here's M at each type, M, U, and W. I have a subtotal here. And that subtotal doesn't get added into this bottom. It just says, well, if you had your M's, your type M's, whatever that would be 3,640,875. That's my subtotal there. It adds all the way into my wholesale there. Here's my retail. And then I could look at my total bag sales. Now notice clear over here to the left, we have some numbers, 1, 2, 3, and 4. If I select 1, I can just look at my grand total. That's the only thing it's going to show, grand total for each one. Click on the next one. It will add the categories. So here's my categories. Add the next one, and what do we sort on? Type, so it should add type. And so there's my type. And then if I click it again, it just shows me the whole picture. Now another thing we can do here is to group our data. So I'm going to go back up to my data tab, go all the way over to group. Now I want to click on the little down arrow on group. And I want to go auto outline. If you don't have auto outline, you could group by columns, since we're grouping columns, not rows, and we could make groups. But for us, auto outline. It says modify existing outline. Yes. Now I can see that I can collapse the things that make up the wholesale. I can collapse the things that make up the retail and just show what my totals for each one is. Here's my total wholesale, retail, total bag sales. Go ahead and save the file. I'll meet you on the next video.